So how many people in here have a message that they want to create a movement with? Mm-hmm. I knew I was in the right room. Brendan brings the best people to this room. So I want to journey back. It's 30 years ago. I was 10. And it was my very first talk. I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to get the words out. Shaking with my paper. I cleared my throat. Today, we are here to celebrate Bob Loman. And I couldn't even read the words because my eyes were welling up with tears. You see, today, it's my daddy's funeral. It was one of the worst days of my life. It was a day that I felt completely lost. You know, when you're a kid and you think the world is a great place and happy things happen to happy people or good things happen to good people, something triggered in me. If bad things happen to bad people, what did this mean about me? And as I looked up, I saw not a dry eye in the room. And I looked over, and there's my aunt. She's one of the most powerful women in our town, and she can't even stand up. She's holding onto the podium, and with everything she can, she's trying to tell stories about her big brother. And I looked at her, and I rubbed her back, and I told her that it was gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. Sometimes our stories, our days of struggle, become our message. It becomes the day when maybe, like Bo says, we don't have the answers. But what I realized was it was creating and preparing me for greatness, looking back now. Steve Jobs says you can't connect the dots looking forwards, but in those dark days, you have to trust that you can see they're moving backwards. I knew in that moment, doing this became my life's mission. I help people share their message and create a movement with it. Today, actually, in Seattle, I have some of my speakers, they are taking the TEDx stage. And this whole week, I've been doing this. You can do this. You know this. You've got it. So I want to ask you, how do you want to make an impact? How do you want to influence change and inspire your audience to action?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Look at them. Enjoy. Take their look. Beautiful. Did you see how she didn't move for movement's sake? Did you see how she moved when it seemed right? It was like the right choreography to go with the emotions. Also, it's a tendency when people get to the saddest parts or the most emotional parts to try to get extra airy. But you already have a gentle, emotional voice, so you don't have to. You don't have to get to that airy place. You don't need to go there. Okay. Also, you got so nice when you started talking about your students, right? But then at the end, when you're giving commands, you seem mean.
Okay.
Right? So remember, you can't get louder and take the melody away.
Okay.
So you're like, oh, my students, they're on the TEDx stage. And so everybody here is going to stay on one note and never go to the bathroom again. Understand?
Yes.
Beautiful. Fantastic. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Great. Great work. Right when you got finished, Brendan and I turned to each other and we go, pro. Pro. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to people.
Yeah.
Is that it's pro mindset that you have. And the power. Did anyone ever see her for 3 minutes apologize for a second? It's like she wouldn't do it.
No.
That's how you know you're in good hands as an audience, because you're in the hands of a pro. They're taking care of you. You will not apologize. You're just a powerhouse. You know, one thing I want you to do, and and it's tiny, but it's going to make you come alive, when you're playing the character of the little girl at the funeral, right? I want you to go between her and this powerhouse that sits in front of us. Then go to her, then this powerhouse that's in front of us. Then to her, you see what I mean? Yeah. We want to see it in real time happen. Okay. And make it happen for us out here. Make the little girl, then you. Then powerhouse, then girl. Powerhouse, then girl. And people are like this, oh shit. All kinds of shit's happen up there. There's all kinds of people on the stage. That is going to make your storytelling and your impact on an audience mesmerizing, okay? You're really the prototypical person that you cannot look away from. You know, you just have that. And if you'll interlace those characters like this, instead of playing one and then playing the other like 8 minutes later, you play them right back and forth, okay? Yeah. Beautiful work. Love it. Yeah.
Can't wait.
So good. How'd you feel?
Amazing.
Yeah,
I feel at home.
You do this a lot.
I do.
Yeah. So you felt amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So a couple simple things. Yes. One, I hope you all watched her posture when she was doing it, because what Roger was sharing was her movement was on point, especially for how she carries herself and her posture. Completely aligned the whole time, fully believable, really great. Okay? For you, your biggest thing, I want you to watch that video 50 times and notice how all your transitions didn't quite work.
Okay.
Everything else worked, but you lost us a little at transitions, either because the sound changed too much. It was, you were morose because the death, or from the funeral, and you didn't quite lift us out with the transition. Okay. The sound has to change, and maybe you change physically just a little bit. And then when your students, all of a sudden, you're morose, and my students, and you're almost giggly out of nowhere. Because there's no transition. You were giggly out of literally nowhere. We were like, what? And so I want the giggly, but you got to warm us up into the giggly.
Yeah.
Okay? And then same thing towards the end, when you gave us the directive, it was like we needed one more sentence and one more smile and glide into that directive. So I want you just to think, I need to change my body and my tone and glide into that next section a little bit, because everything else worked but the transitions.
Okay.
Helpful?
Yes.
Give her a round of applause. Awesome.
Great.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Great work.
Great job.
Beautiful.